it's still heartbreaking that you could take a baby, an innocent baby, and take your frustrations out on him. Jacah didn't deserve this, but the flip side of that, I just thank God that he's here. But if this had not happened, would Jacah be with me? Or would he still be enduring little bits and pieces of abuse? Jacah never got a chance at life. Jacah never got a chance to speak. He never got a chance to crawl, walk. You know, the guy that shook him got a 20-year plea deal in prison, but he gave Jacah a life sentence in this body.
Tell me about your story with Jacah in a linear way, starting the day he was born.
Oh, Jacah was the first birth that I've ever seen. We've been in love since he took his first breath. People don't know that he's not my biological, but he's my ex-husband's daughter's baby. But from the time that she told us she was pregnant, I was excited to be a grandmother.
What was Jacah like the first 5 months of his life before he acquired shaken baby syndrome?
Oh, Jacah was the cutest little thing. I used to say he could wear Build-A-Bear clothes because he was so small and he was always smiling. Just had the most beautiful smile. He was just a little baby. Just made our house, he lit our house up.
What happened at 5 months old?
At 5 months old, he was in the care of his biological mother's boyfriend. Not sure of the details. We just got a phone call saying get to the hospital. Although we had been taking Jacah to the hospital since he was 2 months old with different things that were happening, at 5 months, that's when CPS stepped in and told us that everybody lost custody. They were going to do an investigation because he had been abused. We didn't know what that abuse was on that day because that was March the 2nd of 2007. We didn't know how badly abused he was. We finally got a phone call a couple of days later saying it was shaken baby syndrome. What is that? So I did my research and I saw that shaken baby syndrome and abusive head trauma means someone took him and shook him just forcefully, and because his brain, and with him being an infant, his brain is just not as solid as ours. It's like an egg. When they called us to the hospital and I saw Jacah laying on the table, they were trying to put an IV in his head. His eyes were actually locked to the top of his head. He was screaming to the top of his lungs. He had blood behind his eyes. His entire brain was bleeding. They said he had an upper jaw fracture, inner nose bone fracture, and he had little lacerations to his face and lips. So that was the physical abuse that I could see. Honestly, I think Jacah still remembers some of those things because sometimes Jacah would drift off and I wonder what's on his mind. Sometimes if there's a sound. One thing he does not like is Elmo. I don't know what it is about Elmo's voice. Could Elmo have been on the TV when he was attacked? But that's the only time Jacah cries is when he hears Elmo.
What are all of his formal disabilities?
Cerebral palsy, seizure disorder, developmental delays. He now has a trach. He's G-tube fed. His hips were never formed. I'm not quite sure what the name of that is, but scoliosis, which we've had the correctional surgery, and the spasticity.
Hi, Jacah. I am super excited to be here with you today. If somebody wants to sit beside Jacah and become his friend, what should they do?
I think the first thing would be to introduce yourself to him. Give him a chance to take a look at you. Give him a chance to get to know your voice and go for it.
He's a pretty laid-back guy?
He is. He's easygoing.
My name is Chris, and I'm happy we get to be friends today. I can tell by spending time with you and your mama that you're an amazing guy. You're super cool, and you have good vibes. I can tell by your big old smile that you have good vibes. And I love spending time with people who have good vibes.
With my whole heart, I believe Jacah understands. I know that Jacah's in there. He just can't communicate what he's feeling with words. He communicates with his facial expressions. But I honestly believe that he understands everything that's going on.
The best thing about good vibes is that they're contagious. You start smiling, then I start smiling, then people watch and start smiling. Your mama's smiling over there. Smiles and good vibes are contagious. That's why I'm always happy, Jacah, to be spending time with people who have good vibes like you. If somebody wants to be Jacah's friend, what should they do first?
Speak directly to Jacah. Speak directly to Jacah. Introduce yourself. Shake his hand. You can touch him. You can talk to him. And he'll he feeds off of you. So if you are a friend, he's going to smile. But if there's something about you that he's not feeling, you'll know.
Jacah, I can tell from hearing your story, my friend, that you are super, super, super strong. You're strong physically, you're strong mentally. You should be proud of yourself. I'm proud of you. What happened immediately after his injuries? Where did he go? What happened?
Jacah spent 15 days in the hospital. 10 of those days he was in somewhat like a medically induced coma, just to get sight on how much swelling his brain was going to have. But once he was released, I showed up and all his things were packed up, and there was a lady sitting in a rocking chair rocking my baby, and I'm like, who is that? It was his aunt. They gave her permission to take him home with her.
How long was he with his aunt?
1 month. It was a lot for her. She wasn't aware of the severity of Jacah's injuries, and she wasn't able to handle it. So I really commend her for taking on that responsibility and allowing me to be a part of it, because when she had Jacah, she did allow me to see Jacah. And once she turned him back over to CPS, she did let me know that that's what she was going to do. But she just couldn't handle that responsibility. It was a huge responsibility.
After she turned him back over to CPS, is that when you got custody?
Not immediately. Jacah went to a couple of other foster homes. There is evidence that there was abuse in those foster homes. And the miracle of God is that every time he went to the hospital, I got a phone call from the hospital thinking that I was CPS. So I knew about every hospital visit he had.
The hospital thought you were CPS for some reason?
For some reason, they had my contact information, and they called me upon Jacah being admitted to the hospital.
So they called you detailing the abuse, thinking you were CPS?
Not detailing over the phone, telling me to get to the hospital. Once I got to the hospital, that's when I got the details.
So you went to the hospital?
Absolutely.
Pretending to be CPS?
Never pretending, because I didn't know that they thought I was CPS until I got there, and they were shocked that I was so in tune with him. And they were like, well, you've met him before? I'm like, yes, I'm his grandmother.
What was the abuse he suffered?
What was the abuse he suffered? The shaken baby syndrome that left him with seizure disorder, cerebral palsy, developmental delays. The abuse from the foster homes, is that what you're asking me? Okay, so the abuse that the first time I got the call, it was because Jacah had diaper rash. And the diaper rash was so severe, it was down to the meat. It was really bad. I stayed at the hospital with Jacah and helped him to, get back to baseline. And I thought then I would surely get custody. They sent him back to another foster home. I may have been 3 to 4 weeks later, maybe even a month, I got another phone call that Jacah was back in the hospital with failure to thrive So immediately I'm looking up what's failure to thrive, meaning that he's giving up on life. He's not eating, he's not responding. So I go to the hospital again because I got the phone call. I walked to the door, and when I said grandbaby, because I never called him by his name, I always called him grandbaby, this baby put the biggest smile on his face. And from that day, I think I spent about 3 days there ordering every baby food they had. I was feeding him. I was letting him take his time because the brain damage was so severe. He couldn't just eat on point. You know, you have to give him time to eat and figure out if that's what he wanted. But he gained maybe like a pound within those 3 days.
And I'm proud of the love that you and your mama have together. Lots of love. You have love and it's obvious. So let's think about all the good things you have. You have a great mama. You have good vibes. You have this wonderful ability to have a big smile. When did you eventually gain custody of Jacah?
July 14th, 2007, my doorbell rang. And when I opened the door, the CPS caseworker was standing there with my baby in his carrier. And she had this big blue tote. And she said, "Here you go."
What was that like?
Oh, man. That was the most amazing day of my life. I honestly thought the last time he was in the hospital and he went back to CPS, I honestly thought that I wouldn't see him again.
Tell me about what it was like for you when he first came home. What were those challenges? What were some of the joys?
The challenges, first of all, I was still working. So that was a challenge of how I'm going to go back to work with this baby that cries all night, pretty much cries all day. I really don't know what he needs or what he wants. It was like a jigsaw puzzle, putting a puzzle together. Jacah would just cry and scream, and I didn't know why. The rocking didn't work. The walking didn't work. So I just had to try different things. Put a warm towel on his head, just, swaddle him up. It wasn't easy, but we figured it out. Eventually, I think Jacob realized that he was back with his grandma and that he was safe and that he could relax.
How old is Jacah today?
Jacah is 18 years old.
Do you still feel resentment and anger about the assault he suffered 17 and a half years ago, or have you learned to forgive?
Absolutely, I'm angry. I say I forgive. In my heart, I forgive, but I still feel like you have to take accountability. I still feel like the punishment is not equal to what you left Jacah with. I'm at a point now, I just want Jacah to live a life uninterrupted. So in 20 years, that's when that sentence for his abuser will be over. That person will have a chance to start life anew. Jacah's still serving his life sentence.
I've noticed that Jacah has a lot of medical equipment around the house. Tell me about some of the equipment that he needs in order to thrive.
So, like right now, he's feeding. So he has his IV pole that has his feeding tube. He's G-tube fed 3 times a day. This is where all his nutrition comes because he's no longer able to eat by mouth. We also have his lift, so I can lift him out of his chair and put him on the couch. My name is Chris. I live in Florida, and I came all this way to Texas to be your friend. Because when your mama emailed me and shared your story and shared a picture of you smiling, I thought to myself, now there is a dude that I want to be friends with. A dude with good vibes, lots of love, and a big old smile. And I'm happy we get to meet today. I'm happy we get to be friends.
I'm having a lot of fun being your friend. You're an awesome guy. You're a super cool guy. And I can tell how smart you are, because every time I compliment you, you smile, which shows me that you're listening to everything I say, and I appreciate it. I appreciate how attentive you are. These days, everybody walks around with their head buried in their phone, but you, my friend, you are listening to what I'm saying. And for that, I'm grateful. I'm grateful for your friendship.
But Jacah also has a Tobii Dynavox, which is a device where he can look at it and it speaks for him.
Does he like to use that?
Sometimes. Unfortunately, if you see this thing that he's doing with his head, since 2021, he's been doing that more often. So his eye gaze is not locked in like it used to be.
What happened in 2021?
January 26th of 2021, I called 911 because Jacah started a new medication. We were testing him to see if he had restless leg syndrome because he would just keep moving his legs and he hadn't slept for like 3 or 4 nights. Finally, the medication must have got in his system and he went into a deep sleep. So I called 911 because I wasn't able to give him his feeds. I wasn't able to give him his medication because he took it by mouth. He also hadn't urinated all day. So I felt like I should call 911 and let them come out and check his vitals just to make sure everything was okay. Well, 2 Houston firefighter EMTs showed up. One of them came in, touched his wrist. Oh yeah, Mom, he's gone. I'm like, what does that mean? Yeah, Mom, he's gone. There's no heart rate. There's no pulse. He's gone. So I'm asking them, well, are you gonna do anything? I mean, ma'am, what do you want us to do? I want you to do your job. If you're saying my son is gone and I'm telling you that I know he's not, he has a history of low heart rate. He has a history of low body temperature. So if he's cold to the touch, that's a part of his medical history. If you can't get his pulse here in his wrist if he has a history of low heart rate. You have all this equipment, why won't you put it on him? So after about 20 minutes of going back and forth with them, I just said, forget it. I started scooping Jacah up to take him to the hospital myself.
How long did it take from the time the first responders got there to when you were in the hospital?
I'm thinking about 30 to 45 minutes.
What happens once you arrive at the hospital?
They were waiting. There was a line of nurses and doctors waiting for my son to get there. When he got into the trauma room, they were lined up doing CPR. I know that I witnessed about 2 or 3 different people switching out to do CPR. But of course, they're calling me to the side, asking me questions. But I remember one guy, they like cleared the crowd for him to come in. Whatever he did, it was less than 5 seconds before he said, he's ready. They intubated my baby. The kangaroo crew from Texas Children's Hospital, they arrived to pick him up because I wanted him transported back to the hospital that saved his life at 5 months old. They arrived and the doctor that came with them, she was looking over the paperwork and the test results from Memorial Hermann. And she said, you know, I'm troubled by what I see and I just have to let you know that your baby's brain dead. I'm like, ma'am, can we just please go to the hospital that you work at and put him on your machines? Like, are we just gonna give up on my son?
Were they trying to convince you to give up?
I feel like, I mean, you're telling me it troubles you and you want me to know that he's brain dead. So what does that mean? Again, death. Again, I'm hearing my son and death in the same sentence.
How did they respond when you said that you want to give him anything he needs to survive?
Well, at that particular time, I just asked her, was she going to give up on him? And were we going to be transported to Texas Children's Hospital? And she said, yes, we're going to go ahead and go. Once we got to Texas Children's, they were waiting as well. They hooked him up to all these machines. The doctor came in and she sat us over to the side and she told me that all of his organs had shut down, that he was suffering and he was dying, and that I needed to let him go. Again, I covered my ears like I was 5 years old, and I'm like, are you gonna give up on my son? What does that mean, let him go? You have all this equipment. Why can't you just do your job? Because I'm not leaving here without my son. I couldn't even imagine walking out the hospital without Jacah.
After you said that, did they help him?
Oh, they were helping him as we were having that conversation. So this was just a doctor that had me over to the side.
How long did it take for him to leave the hospital?
We were there for 31 days. So from January 26th to February 28th, I believe, is when we were discharged.
Did his disability heighten after the second incident?
It did. And because Jacah already had brain damage, this second blow, it took away his ability to eat by mouth. It took away his ability to even make eye contact. And if you see this that he's doing with his head, this is something that he's been doing since then. He doesn't have any control, and the extra drooling that he's doing now, because he can't eat by mouth, he doesn't swallow. He's not swallowing properly. So the additional brain damage did add to what we were already going through.
So Jacah, while I'm here with you, I want to learn a lot about you. I know you have many interesting facts, many cool things you're into. So I'm going to ask your mama, who's right behind the camera, some questions so I can get to know you. What would you say are some of Jacah's favorite things to do?
Jacah loves to dance. He likes music.
You like to dance? Well, I am not going to claim to be a good dancer, but I am a person who will attempt to dance when I meet a friend who likes dancing. You ready to boogie? Here we go! This is a great song. What are you most proud of Jacah for?
I'm so proud of Jacah for just being here. Jacah has sustained ECMO. I don't know if you've ever heard of ECMO, but
What is it?
ECMO is like dialysis, but for the lungs. So if you see this beauty mark that he has here, in November of 21, he caught pneumonia. And they tried everything, the oxalator, the vent, the BiPAP, but they could not get his lungs to, they couldn't get the CO2 to blow off. So they put him on what was called ECMO, something I'd never heard of until I had 45 minutes to decide if I was gonna put him on it. So he had two hoses. One hose took the blood out of his body, put it in a machine. The machine cleaned the blood, add oxygen to it, and the other hose put the oxygenated blood back in his body. And the ECMO, it's an acronym. I cannot pronounce all the words, but it's ECMO. And that machine kept Jacah alive for 65 days. But on 2 occasions in front of me, I saw my baby cold. I saw the nurse jump from the floor on top of Jacah to do CPR and scream for someone to hit the button so the other nurses could come in and help her do CPR, because a blood clot went through the ECMO machine, shut it down.
How many times have you seen Jacah have a near-death experience?
Oh my gosh. I'm gonna say 4. If we start off with shaken baby syndrome, and then we go to the firefighter, EMTs, and then ECMO, I'm gonna say 4.
Are all of these injuries he continues to sustain related to the shaken baby syndrome?
Yes. I believe that's the culprit of everything. Everything trickles back to that day on March the 2nd, 2007.
If you could say something to people who might be feeling frustrated with an infant, what would you say?
Take a break. Take a break, take a breath, put the child down, walk away, and don't make a mistake that's going to hinder your life and theirs.
Jacah, I want to tell you that I had an amazing time with you. I'm really happy we got to spend this time together. You are amazing. Your family's amazing. I'm really happy you have this loving family to be a part of. And thank you for showing me your smile. Make sure to keep on smiling in this world. I'm really happy that we're friends now. Thank you for being my friend. I had a great time with you. A great time with you. And I think it's important for people who are watching this video to know that when interacting with this awesome guy, Jacah, or maybe somebody like him, there might be a little bit of a processing delay where I'm talking, and it might take him, an extra 10, 20, 30, sometimes 40 seconds to understand that I'm talking to him. Can you tell me about that? How when I'm interacting with Jacah, to be patient and give him time to understand what I'm saying.
That's correct. That's a part of the developmental delays. So Jacah absolutely understands what's going on, but yeah, with the brain damage, it does take him a moment to kind of tune in to that you're talking to him, and even to develop his response to you. And it's okay.
It is okay. Thank you, Jacah, for showing me that it's okay to be patient.
He's really looking at you.
You're an amazing man. You're a man now that you're 18. I wish you all the success with graduating high school in a few months. You're going to do great.
And this is why we talk about it so much. If we can save one family, that would be enough for us.
What can you share that might save one family?
I want everybody to know that babies cry. If Jacah crying is what triggered his shaken baby syndrome, that's their language. As a child, as an infant, they don't know how to do anything but cry. If you're angry and you have an infant, walk away. It's okay for that child to cry. That's exercise for their lungs. That's the way they communicate. But if you need a break, take a break.
From my research, I've learned that experts believe a lot of times with shaken baby syndrome, the parent or caregiver, it's almost a primal reaction because maybe they haven't been sleeping, they haven't been taking care of themselves, and they just shake this baby in a moment of complete weakness and disregard, and it just permanently disables the baby when they should take that break. They should take that moment for themselves and just put the baby down. Do you want to share anything about that?
I want them to know that it is okay to take a break. You have to consider what the outcome is. And even exhaustion, all those things, not only are you exhausted, I'm sure the baby is exhausted too. Sometimes the rocking that turns into shaking is not soothing. Sometimes they do want to be left alone. Maybe they just want to exercise their lungs, but walk away. It's okay to walk away. Go to another room or call somebody to help you.